So at this moment, I would love to have our presenters introduce themselves. So I'm going to ask Ryan to go first.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Ryan Forsyth. I'm the Vice President for Enrollment here at Worcester State. I oversee things such as registration, financial aid, admissions, things like that. It is wonderful to be with you. I'm so glad that your students have chosen Worcester State as the place to further their education, and can't wait to invite them here on campus in the fall.
Thank you. And Henry.
How are you doing? I'm Henry Terrio. I'm the Associate Vice President for Academic Affairs in the Office of Academic Affairs, and which I've been doing for 3 years. Prior to that, for almost 20 years, I was a faculty member at Worcester State, and I oversee a whole bunch of different programs, interdisciplinary programs and other things that many of our wonderful students take courses in, and I'm excited to talk with you about things you're interested to learn about.
Terrific. And our question moderator for the evening.
Hi everyone, my name is Sarah Patrikas. I'm an Assistant Director in the Office of Student Involvement and Leadership Development, and I will be moderating the questions for this evening.
Terrific. So as I mentioned, first we will start with the questions that you had during your registration, and then we will move to the chat questions. Please feel free anytime you want to add any questions to the chat. Once we are finished with the questions, if nobody has anything else, I will give a brief overview of our online orientation program for the first year students, so you kind of have an idea of what we'll be doing for them. So we'll go into that at the end. So Sarah, I'm going to turn it over to you for the questions.
Okay, so the first question is, can you please discuss the math placement test process and what students can expect will be covered?
Do you want me to take that one, Christy?
Sure.
Sure, okay. Our math testing specialist is not with us, but rest assured we have a actually testing director in the Academic Success Center who oversees all the testing processes, and we have this down to a science. Right now, because of COVID-19, we are doing remote testing through a certain program called Alex. You don't need to know about that, but anyone who needs to do a test will get information. Each student will find out what particular tests they would need to do based on their major and what courses they would be targeting for their first year at Worcester State. So that'll be information that they'll get, and they'll be set up to take those tests as they need them. There are review materials, there are outlines of each test and so forth available when the student would be contacted about the particular exam he, she, or they would need to take. And we're excited to do that. If you have any questions at all, you just contact Academic Success. We'll give you that information, and they'll walk you right through the particular things that you need to know for that process.
Great.
Thank you.
So the next question is, what plans do you have in place for students that become infected by COVID-19 during the academic year? Just if students are either becoming ill or if they have to take a leave, like how's that going to work?
I'll take that one. Hello again, everybody. It's Ryan. Right now, the university is working to develop all of our plans for the fall 2020 semester. Right now, the president has announced that we will be finalizing those plans during the month of June, and we will be announcing them to all of our students, as well as our families, our faculty, our staff, in the middle of this month. The expectation is that sometime between the 15th and the 25th of June, we will have definitive plans for all of our operations going forward into the fall semester. That includes the types of tests that will be on campus, the types of temperature taking, as well as quarantine options, the isolation spaces that we're planning for. There is a good deal of effort underway right now to assure that the university is prepared for September. So whatever presence we do have on campus, we want to make sure that all of our students remain safe. As one example, the university has just secured over 250,000 pieces of protective personal equipment so that we have that equipment on campus by July. and it is ready to be used before the semester begins for students that either do not have their own or for perhaps a student that may forget their protective equipment. We expect to have all of those preparations in place during the summer so that all of our students are safe when we come back in the fall.
Christy, could I just add one little bit to that?
Mm-hmm.
We also have a very good process if a student does become ill on campus for any reason at all, and it's serious enough for them to be out, more than just missing a class or something. That student can contact student affairs, health services, academic affairs, or any entry point. And we have a process for making sure that our health services administrator becomes involved to figure out what needs to be done. And then we work through anything we need on the student affairs side. We take care of if the student's a resident, non-resident, we work with them about that. And then on the academic affairs side, I would then contact each professor of the student to let them know. We don't disclose any particular medical information, but we do let the faculty members know that a student will be absent for a certain amount of time, and then work out so that the student can then contact the faculty members once they're feeling ready again to make up work and to resume their classes. And that way we want to really make sure that we take care of students no matter what the illness is, including COVID-19. We want to really make sure that we're able to help them through that process, and there's no negative effects or anything lost because of it.
Terrific. Thank you.
And the last pre-emailed question that we have is, what is the process for picking classes for students who are undeclared? So I don't know if Ryan, if you're the one to answer that.
Go ahead, Hank.
Okay, so it's a great question. A good number of our students are undeclared, and that's wonderful. We certainly encourage students who want to explore different majors to just start taking courses. Those students will have an academic advisor. Incoming students are all advised, regardless of major or not having a major, through the Academic Success Center, who sets them up with their initial schedule. And actually now is going to be working with them throughout their entire first year to give some continuity. And a student without a major will be encouraged at once to explore different options based on their interests, but also to make sure that they're taking courses that will help no matter what they decide to go forward. So taking general education, English comp and things like that, that will make sure they're making good progress so they can graduate on time and get a lot out of that experience. So they'll get the same advising as any other student, and they can stay undeclared, as long as they feel they want to explore different options.
Thank you.
Well, those were the questions that we had that were pre-submitted. We did have one question come up in the chat, and if anybody else has questions regarding either their student schedule, what classes are like, any of that, you can feel free to put them right there in the chat. The question that we did get says, my student has received their fall schedule already and is placed in the freshman math class. She has already taken pre-calc. She's not 100% sure of her major. Should she be taking the placement test?
I'm going to type a response right in there because it involves giving an email address. It's
okay.
The email of Julie Frankian, who is our testing coordinator. Okay. And if you just email her, what she would just need is just all the specifics of the student's schedule and what the student is interested in, and they'll be able to figure that. Right now, because we're doing remote testing, if students don't want to take a course in the fall for math, we're not worrying about testing them right away. Once they're on campus, it's a lot easier to have in-person testing, so we'll do it that way. But if your student would like to do a math course, we can set that up, and Julie Franken is the person. So I'm just going to put her email right in that chat box, and you can just use that to reach out to her.
Any other questions? Oh, sorry.
Christy and Sarah, if I could just add a little bit.
Of course.
Many of our students, when they are coming to Worcester State, are coming with varied educational experiences that they've had before. Perhaps your student has experienced a advanced placement class. Maybe your student has taken, excuse me, a dual enrollment class. Or like the question from the person in the chat, your student may have taken advanced mathematics classes in high school and are now curious about what the right class for them to take on the collegiate level is. The Academic Success Center, which is the center on campus that has been working on your student's schedule over the past few weeks, is the perfect location to ask questions about all of these questions relative to the first academic semester. Hank is going to be putting that email address in the chat in just a moment for you. And we're also going to include the General Academic Success Center email, which you see here on the screen, and that you'll see in a moment in the chat, which is asuccess@worcester.edu. Any type of question related to that first semester schedule really can go to that email because it is monitored by our professional academic advisors. These staff are on campus for exactly this purpose, to help new students determine what is the right thing for them to do for that first semester class. If your student has experienced any of those academic experiences that I just spoke about, things such as advanced placement or dual enrollment or international baccalaureate, or any of the types of secondary school experiences where students sometimes get college credit, you want to make sure that we're aware of that. Some students will take an advanced placement test, advanced placement class, complete the test, but then not send the test scores to the university. If that happens, then we're not aware of that, and your student could result in retaking a class they might not need. Whereas if your student has completed an advanced placement class, has taken that test and has that score, as long as the score is a 3, 4, or 5, in most cases, the student receives 3 college credits from the university. That means 1 less class to take, 1 less class to pay for, and the completion perhaps of a prerequisite so your student can go into that advanced class that comes after that one. The same goes for dual enrollment. If your student has had an academic experience with dual enrollment in high school, then a dual enrollment class means that your student now has a transcript from high school, which I'm sure that we probably already have because your student's been admitted, but they also have a transcript from the college that did the dual enrollment class with your student. So perhaps that's the local community college or the local state university. What we want to do is we want to make sure we get that transcript from that dual enrollment class from your student as well, because just like advanced placement, your student could receive college credit for that here at Worcester State, which again means 1 less class that they take here at the university.
Thank you.
We did have another question come in asking at what point you can reach out to the Academic Success Center regarding a 504 plan. A 504 plan would actually go, you would contact our student accessibility services. They work with any students who had a 504 plan in high school. They can actually be reached if you go on our website, and I'll put the link in here. We do have the student accessibility website, which has all of the information on there, and I'll include their email in the chat. I don't know off the top of my head if we have one of these calls coming up that SAS is on.
Next week. Yep, it's the Student Services Group 1 session.
Okay, so if you are interested in learning more about student services specifically, you can also come back for that chat, and Fran, I think, will be here talking about that. So I'll drop the contact information for student accessibility in the chat for you.
So somebody did ask that similar question at the session last evening that Fran was on. It is wise to contact her, but she did say that 504 plans stop after high school, and we have a new plan that she would work with the student, do an intake, and come up with a plan for the university. So the 504 plan itself stops at the end of the 12th grade, and we develop a new plan. She did say that, so that would be great to connect with her. Thanks for putting that in the link, Sarah. That's great.
Yeah, and the plan, the services a student received in high school does not automatically carry over to college. So it's important that the student advocates and makes sure that they do get the same services that they need. So it is on the student and the family to contact student accessibility in order to get those services.
I would also add that a student does not need to have had a 504 in high school to get accommodations. There are a wide range of accommodations, including temporary accommodations. You know, if a student broke a leg and needed special accessibility for classes, that type of thing. That all falls under the accessibility services office, and they're tremendously great at working with students. I can't say enough good things about them.
Thank you.
So we had another question come in. We selected Worcester in the start of May and have done the first stages, so the resident survey, all of that. At what stage is my student's fall semester schedule being made? It sounds like they're not sure if their student has an email that's just sitting there waiting to be acted on. So
I can say that we make the schedules as students come in and enroll. And so if you have any questions, I mentioned, I gave the academic success email address above. I can give that again. It's just asuccess@worcester.edu. And they're the ones making the schedule. So you just send them an email, and it may be that they already have started to work on it, or you know, or there may be something they're waiting for, but you just ask them and they will work with you on that. And if you have any trouble, my email is also there. Just shoot me an email and I will get to the bottom of it very quickly.
Terrific. Thank you.
Yeah.
Is there any other questions?
nope, that's all I'm seeing.
Okay. One of the things I just wanted to comment on, going back a little, Ryan had talked about plans for COVID-19. You know, I'd like to reassure parents that, and I know he said something similar, but we've really been working on some solid plans for the fall. All of us sit on several different committees, really planning for the safety of your student. And I think that's really important to reassure parents. We are really working toward a really solid plan. And I know you talked a little bit about Brian, but I always try to mention it now in these Zoom Q&As because I think it's super important that, you know, as soon as we had to go online in March, we were already thinking ahead. So you know, we're all working together to really support your student and every other. So I think that's important to mention.
Oh,
got a question? See?
Yeah. If all goes well and students are on campus in the fall, what is the start date for classes and the move-in date?
We're going to find that for you.
I know.
I have it. I'll have it in 1 second. Just go into the calendar because it changes every year.
Let me talk about the move-in date. How about
Yeah, you do that.
Right. So Residence Life is currently making plans for move-in. Of course, it's going to depend on the regulations, the restrictions due to COVID-19. So typically, first-year students move in all in the same day, and that might be a little different this year because we may need to stagger the move-in. Orientation actually helps with the first-year move-in, so we are assisting them, and we're still planning. So when Residence Life sends out information, it will include all of that as well. And that should be hopefully settled in the next couple of weeks as well, like Ryan had said about opening.
And just to confirm, I posted this. Classes begin September 2nd this year. And if you want to look at the entire academic calendar, it gives you all the information you need to know about dates. That's actually posted on our website, very easy to access under academics. And if you need, you can just email me as well, and I can just send you a copy of that. And that's very helpful just to know the different dates that students should be aware of.
We had another question come in. If classes are switched to remote learning for the semester and a student is uncomfortable with kind of the online learning environment, is there a way to defer for the next semester?
Yes, there most certainly is. Any student that wishes to defer their admission application is able to do so for a full semester or a full year. So for a student that's accepted for fall 2020, if the student desires to defer or delay their enrollment at the university, they can do so until spring of 21 or next fall of 21. That is always a student's prerogative, whether we're in a worldwide pandemic or not. We can, as students, always have that option. More broadly, I would say that without getting ahead of the president's announcement that is expected to come later this month, We are expecting that the university will have an on-campus presence. We are not expecting to be all online. There have been some higher education institutions that have announced that they will be fully online. That is not currently the prevailing expectation here at Worcester State. We expect to be on campus with safety measures in place to assure that all students are safe and that campus life and residential life can continue to happen at Worcester State. We do expect that in order to allow for social distancing, that may mean that students will have classes in classrooms that they might not have in the past, such as a small class in a large lecture hall, or using an auditorium for what would be a medium-sized class to allow students to have that space. Perhaps there will be students that will have more experiences outside of the classroom or in an online environment that allows students to be in class during some periods and out of class and still learning during other periods. All of those plans are being finalized right now, and the details of those are expected to be available within the month. However, we do expect at this time to have an on-campus presence and not be an all-online institution this fall.
Could I add one note to that as well? I also wanted to definitely stress that we are extremely sensitive to student needs around learning. We are that way anyway, whether in person, online, or a mix. We always really want to make sure students have the supports they need to succeed. And of course, with COVID-19 and the distance learning that we had to go to and so forth in the spring, there were more and more, challenges that we really wanted to work with students regarding. I did want to assure you, I know that especially at the high school level, there were struggles because of the technology, because of training and so forth. Our faculty have been both highly trained in the different modes of working with students, and that will include in-person social distancing and so forth. They've been doing incredible amounts of work to be on the cutting edge of all the different techniques that can be used with distance education to make it really vibrant and interesting for students. And on top of that, we've been working with students extensively. So for instance, Ryan and folks he works with spearheaded a campaign this spring where we called every single Worcester State student to ask them how they were doing in their classes, what issues they were facing, and to try to solve all of the issues that they might have. I will say it was encouraging that a lot of students were doing really well, but we made sure to address anything that comes up, and we will continue to do that. So even if a student is uncomfortable or worried about the change in mode of delivery, I would say it might be worth exploring what supports are there, because we are going to be 100% committed to giving a great experience for all the students, no matter how we're delivering courses, and to make sure that every student is supported 100%, so that they don't have to feel that they're missing anything or that they're left on their own to figure things out that they shouldn't have to figure out.
Great, thank you. Any other questions that we may have?
I don't have any more in the chat.
No, okay. So I'm just going to talk a little bit quickly about orientation. So if you have any other questions come up, please feel free to add them to the chat.